Hello and welcome at Focus a digital accessibility podcast. My name is Tim Dame and I'm joined today by Giamir Buoncristiani, um, staff software engineer at Stack Overflow. Welcome.
Oh, nice to be here. Thanks for
Hi,
having me.
hello. Yeah, this is actually the second time for us meeting because the first time was in New York, well, actually New Jersey. At the JS Nation conference over there. So that's nice. But now we meet online. That's also good.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to meet you again. And I guess one thing that we have in common, that conference is, I think that our talks were the two only talks around accessibility at that conference. So it was nice.
Yeah.
Nice to catch up about accessibility there.
Yeah. We yeah we met there and we spoke about we are going to talk about accessibility also. Oh, that's cool. That's nice. Yeah. So we just entered 2025 as well, still in the first month. Yeah, looking back at 2024, are there some successes in terms of maybe accessibility organization wide, but also personal you would like to mention?
Yeah, absolutely. 2024 has been a pretty eventful year, when it comes to accessibility for me, and for my company, Stack Overflow. I work in the design system team of Stack Overflow, where we're focusing on a variety of front-end initiatives. But last year, 2024, I feel like I could say that it was the year of accessibility. We had at least a full semester, in our team, where we think hard about how to improve the accessibility of our products, right? And yes, I think we, between other things, we released a brand new color palette, right? For our design system, which is always not easy, right? As you can imagine, Stack Overflow is a pretty established website, and when it comes to do this sort of I guess migration, or upgrades, it's always tough and it's a lot of planning, but I can say, I'm pretty happy, because the results now, it's a website overall that has, it's much more accessible, so yeah.
Nice.
It has been a full year for us, let's put it like that.
So the changes they paid off. And did you guys change the color palette because the contrast was not high enough at first?
Yes. We knew since a while that we had some problem with our pre-existing color palette, right? We support also different modes in Stack Overflow. Maybe people are not aware here, but if you actually sign up for Stack Overflow, then you can actually get dark mode or even high contrast mode, right? So our design system actually have to support all this variation, and we did have few color contrast issues, and together with our design team, we revisited the palette, so to make the overall experience of our user a bit more accessible. And interestingly enough, I have an anecdote there as well, the current weaker color contrast algorithm, we struggle a little bit with that, even when doing the new color palette, because Stack Overflow has orange as its brand colors, and we couldn't move away from orange. But orange is, I guess, it's notably a hard color to work with, across accessibility faults, because the weaker algorithm often give sort of false results, you have when you have, for example, black on orange, often weaker pass, but perceptually, it doesn't really feel that readable as, for example, white on a dark orange, and therefore we decided for color contrast to move to a different color contrast algorithm that is called APCA in short, which stands for, it's always a mouthful, Advanced Perceptual Contrast Algorithm. It's a cutting edge algorithm that is currently being evaluated to land in WCAG 3.0, which still not here. It will come eventually. I don't know when, probably in 2028 or something like that. We kind of decided, let's go there so that our orange could work and we didn't have to get rid of our brand orange.
I see. So yeah, I also heard about this new algorithm for contrast in the upcoming version of WCAG, but you guys already went ahead and just implemented it. Yeah, sometimes I have the feeling when I do the contrast checking myself, and you have different results, of course, with different colors, but some colors they pass, but still, to me, already I have the feeling, oh man, I can't see them that well myself. So yeah, sometimes it's a little bit iffy, I would say, but I will look more into the new algorithm you mentioned. That's quite interesting. So you were saying that this solves your problem.
Yes, that was one of the reasons why we decided to, it's never easy to adopt things that are a bit cutting edge, because of course there is not all the tooling that you would get from more established algorithm, like the current weaker one. But for us, and for our design team, we really couldn't get away from our orange, right? It's our brand color. So we decided how it is the weaker, it kind of, it's readable, right? Well, see, but the algorithm still fail. So we decided actually to explore this new perceptual algorithm, and it worked quite well for us. Yeah, the only thing, of course, is that there wasn't that much tooling out there, or there is still not that much tooling out there, for testing, for example, for that algorithm. So we had actually to roll out some stuff ourselves, to make sure that we were able as a company to test with that new algorithm in a methodical way, right? And that was also a nice occasion for us to contribute back to open source. So we developed few rules for the Axe engine that are leveraging this new algorithm, and you can plug in your test, and instead of testing with the WCAG algorithm, they would test with the APCA.
Okay. So this is a plugin for the Axcore tooling.
Yes, it's called APCA Check. You can find it in NPM and also in GitHub. It will essentially, you use it alongside Axe, right? It's another set of rules that you just add when you configure Axe in your test.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. You guys contributed to that new.
So to the algorithm itself, not right, but to the tooling. The algorithm itself has been developed by actually, I hope I'm pronouncing their name correctly. I think they go on the internet as Mindex, MYNDEX, and I think they're part of a research group at a university that have been studying color contrast for a while. So yeah, there is a lot of theory behind that the algorithm, it's pretty cool, and I would like to see it in the next WCAG iteration. Of course, it's a breaking change, so it can only get in WCAG 3, right?
Yeah, I can imagine. But on the other note, well, really tough job to build in dark mode on an already established website like Stack Overflow. It must be must have been like a big project for you guys. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, dark mode, we had dark mode since a while, right?
Mm.
It's just that because of the previous palettes, like in some places it wasn't really working right? But, yeah, supporting dark mode in general, and also a high contrast, mode as well, yeah, it's not easy feat, right? We in our design system CSS library, we have also introduced like a set of regression and accessibility tests that we automate, like
Yeah.
with some tooling. So we have some tooling that, because there are so many permutation, that if you have a button component, you can have that button in the dark mode, you can have the button like in the high contrast mode light, and in the high contrast mode dark, and so you have all these different permutation that, if you will always have to test manually, it take up a lot of your time. So we have established a set of regression tests, where we have some algorithm that actually automatically actually test for all these variants, but still that's better than not having everything, but sometimes some bugs always manage to sneak through, right? Because there is so much to test, right? Like when we make a change.
Yeah. Can imagine. So you guys made sure to do these automated tests. So you have custom automated tests, but also of course you guys use Oxcore.
Yes, so we in our design system, right, which is, I guess it's the step is when we talk about accessibility, our design system, right? It's they are the building blocks of the UI that we have across Stack Overflow. So we want them to be as accessible and as solid as possible. So we have invested in a variety of tests for that system. And by the way, again, our design system is also open source. So if you're curious, you can just go to stackoverflow.design, and you can even reach our GitHub repository to see maybe some of those tests in place. So we have a suite of regression tests for most of our components, where we essentially taking snapshot of component in different state and different variation. And then we have a suite of accessibility tests that run alongside it, which essentially they're doing a similar thing. They are rendering the component in a specific state under a specific mode, and then they run a set of access rules against it, right? And if something is not right, of course, they won't catch all the accessibility issue that we could have in a component, but at least for stuff that is a bit more automatizable, like color contrast checking, they are very helpful. They're very helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, color contrast checks are really really nice to automate. I would say, because it's also quite tedious sometimes to test yourself. And no, but that's great. And I never knew that the Stack Overflow design system was open source and available for to see. I would check it out after the recording. Yeah. Well, good. And for the upcoming year 2025, do you see any trends? Of course, the European Accessibility Act is coming up. I think you guys prepared for that as well with this big project that you have been doing. And you also talked about during the conference. Let's get into that also a little bit more maybe later. Yeah, what is this year going to look like?
Yeah, so what I'm observing, at least from where I'm at, is that of course the European Accessibility Act, right, is the main topic, especially discussed across organization, because it has been a topic since 2019, really, because that's when actually the directive was created in the first place. So we had 6 years Like before now in June, we will get to a state where, okay, now, like all the government, all the member states in Europe, like they need to apply that directive and they need to start to enforcing it as well. Right? Like, so companies are starting to get, they need to prepare themselves. And as always, as it's been also for GDPR here in Europe, there will be a period where, it will be a gradual thing, and we don't know yet like how things will be enforced as well, like because every member state will have a slightly different law, slightly different fines, and so it's gonna take a bit, but certainly like it's gonna be a year where company really need to seriously adjust like their website like to weaker standard, because my understanding as far as my understanding goes, like the EN 301549 directive, which is essentially the directive that is used like in the European Accessibility Act, state it essentially refers directly to WCAG 2.1 AA compliance. Like, so we will see a lot of company trying to get to the standard. This is one of the things like that we also done a Stack Overflow. Despite honestly, like Stack Overflow being in a situation, at least when we talk to our legal team, because the advice I have for people is just like, when it comes to this thing, just make sure to consult your legal team, like if your business is actually affected, etc. When we talk to our legal team, Stack Overflow being a question answer platform, they say that, look, by reading what the companies that would be affected by this European accessibility, it doesn't look like we will be affected, because there are e-commerce, there are a bunch of transports, but question answer, or community websites, stuff like that, it's not at least explicitly mentioned. That said, it's just a question of time, right? So it's better come prepared and don't risk if you have the possibility and the actual financial mean, and as an organization to prepare for weaker, right? So yeah, 2025, I guess, will be all about the European Accessibility Act, and going forward, I can see how the different governments are trying to actually extend also a little bit the guidelines that we have around accessibility, not just for the web, but also for other formats, right? Like PDFs. We all know how the experience of getting some PDF document to fill out from a government entity or something like that, how bad the experience can be, even for people not with particular disability. Imagine with people that maybe cannot see that well, which could very well be us in a few years from now, right?
Indeed. No, definitely. So preparing for the European Accessibility Act, whether or not you guys will be affected, I think, of course, this is part of the I think the power of the EU Accessibility Act, but also I think just preparing to be better accessible is always the better thing to do. And either way, very very nice that you guys took this journey. You also talked about this on the at the conference, right?
Yeah.
Anything of the story still missing from the conference? Are there some notable things that you said at the conference can talk about?
Yeah, for sure. I can just give a brief overview of why we started on this journey on the first place. And this is because we knew like since a while like that we had pages like across our products like that were not really accessible, and this was pointed out often like by also our community members, right? Because we had stackoverflow.com, of course, is our public Q&A website, and then we also have Stack Overflow for private teams, right? Which is our SaaS product, like that, many companies are using. So we had reports coming in from community members, so like people like us that might participate to the regular stackoverflow.com Q&A, but also like in our private instances of Stack Overflow from clients. So we know we needed to do something, and the way that accessibility was treated like before like we decided like to actually embark in this initiative was very reactive, right? Like, so we would have a report, and then people would scramble and say, okay, let's fix it, like, but without really put much strategic thinking like on how do we make sure that we treat accessibility like in a way that is sustainable for our organization, that scale, that can be a journey that continue over time and not just always reacts, right? Like so leadership like struggle as well a little bit like to invest on accessibility, like, because also it sometimes I like it just feel like this fluffy like cross-functional requirements, right? Like that it's not measurable, right? Like, and a lot of leadership want to see data, how things are progressing, like, and when they ask you how we do about accessibility, they want to be able to see like some numbers. So actually we focus on that. I guess my team, like the design system team, like just show to leadership a way where we could start actually measure accessibility. And that was also the focus of my talk, by the way, at JS Nation. Like just like the talk was called Stop Guessing, Start Measuring, Quantifying Accessibility. And that helped us a lot, like to get leadership to invest, right? Like, because we started actually like to put in place like some techniques. We just talk about testing now, like to create like accessibility scores, like that can vary over time, like that can be different from product to product, like and show to leadership an indicator about how far are we as an organization or as a specific product from a specific accessibility target that we set for ourselves. Maybe I should say that if you don't have accessibility targets set for your organization, you should go off and make sure that you do that first. Like, so you wanna probably leverage WCAG, like and say our target like is to get to WCAG. In our case was WCAG 2.2 AA compliance, like as much as possible. And then we also have our high contrast mode that we talk about. Those one, like we are aiming to AAA for a few things. Like, I mean, we will not hit in AAA on everything. And then what this score that we calculate does, essentially, it's a score from 0 to 100. And if you are at, I don't know, a 90, like for a product, it means that you have 10. If you get to 100, like it means that you are sort of compliant, or let's say you are compliant, but there can always be still some reports and bugs that we don't know about it, right? Like, so it's just like, as far as we know, as far as, the different audit that we've done in an automated way, in a manual way, like you are compliant, like, but there might still be something, right? Maybe that you gotta fix, right? Like, so that helped a lot, like in our journey, like, so being able to quantify accessibility. And after that, we were able to focus on shifting left, right? Like, because one thing is, okay, now we're able to measure, we have our targets, and then the next step is, okay, we had to fix some stuff. And we did that actually in our design system, because starting from the design system is a great idea, because it kind of, trickle down to all the UIs, right? Like, so being accessible there, I guess, is step one. But then it's up to every single individual product team to make sure they understand accessibility. They actually talk about accessibility in their regular processes. So we thought that last step, shifting left on accessibility. And for that, we also done a variety of things, including creating one of the biggest things that we've done is that we created this group of people that we call accessibility champions. So every product team has one developer that is an accessibility champion, and meet on a fortnightly basis with the other accessibility champions in a forum where we talk about accessibility, what are the problems, and what the teams they need to consider when they're building and stuff. So essentially being an advocate for accessibility within their team, and making sure that, in all the different steps of the development process, accessibility is brought up as a concern, right? Because in the end, it's up to the product team. Then with the design system team, in a central team, there is only this much that we can do, and then it's about enabling others, to make sure to do their work in an accessible way, right? And this is what we've been trying to do with this effort of shifting left on accessibility.
Getting these measures in place, you guys built this way of showing numbers to management and tracking accessibility in that way. What are some of I'm guessing you guys use some score measurement style. Actually, the measurement style looked to me really like the Lighthouse score, which also is from 0 to 100. Is it similar to what you guys have done, or did you also building custom checks as well, custom measures?
Yeah. So so we are using to calculate the score of a product, or the accessibility score of a product. We essentially do that it's a combination of things, right? So one part of the score, it's calculated in an automated fashion. So you're right, we're using Playwright and Axecore running in a GitHub workflow, and actually we are gathering accessibility scores for a variety of our pages in our product, right? In terms of custom checks, we do have some sort of custom check, because we're using, for example, specific rule like APCA, right? We just talked about that a second ago, so we do have some rules that are specific a little bit to us. And then we actually upload. So these checks, they run on a daily basis, and they get uploaded in our observability platform, right? In our case, we use Datadog. And that's the automated, we call that automated score, actually. And then we have another score that is called manual score, because of course the automated score, you can catch, they say up to 57%, right? In average of weaker violation. But then what about the other 50% or so, right? That, you need to do in a manual fashion, and for that, we actually maintain a repository. Actually, we use Jira for this, a central Jira board, accessibility board, where we have a specific actually template, of how this report should be. So we might have a client, for example, reporting to us an issue. We might have community members, so stackoverflow.com, right? Have also, we call them a meta community. So I'm not sure if you ever visited meta.stackoverflow.com. So essentially that is where you can talk about anything about the website, and some people report bugs or accessibility issues. So we try to collect like all of these reports like into this central place, including also audits that sometimes we do internally, or we ask like a external provider like to do. So then we have essentially these Jira issues, right, like that are refined like by the accessibility champion group that I just talked about, right? Like, so by people that are that understand accessibility a bit better, right? Like that are able also to assign the, you know, somebody say, okay, this is not accessible, but then we need to understand, okay, what rule is actually what success criterion like is violating of WCAG. Like, so in this template, right, there's few things to fill up, and then that will end in a to do after being triage will end in a to do status, like and in this to do status actually like will help us like to create like this manual part of the accessibility score, check the number of problems we have, minor problems we have, according also with their severity, and yeah, and then we have an automated score, a manual score, and the final score is essentially like a combination of the two. Like, so we do use an accessibility. We have created an accessibility service. Like, so this is something custom we've done that pulls data from Datadog for the automated score, that pull data from Jira, the Jira API, and it kind of create like an accessibility dashboard that we decided as an organization internally. At the beginning, we thought that could be like an internal tool, but then we decided, okay, this is probably good also to share for accountability with our community and our clients. Right? So we decided, why not? Right? Like, so if you go today at accessibility.stackoverflow.net, like you can see our dashboard there, right? Like that gets updated on a daily basis. How we fare on the different products that we have, right? We have stackoverflow.com, that is the Stack Overflow you all know, like, but also we have other products like the Stack Overflow for Teams, like our private Stack Overflow, etc. So yeah, that's how we create like those scores, like, and yeah, they have helped us out quite a bit, like you know, in many conversations, like not just with our leadership, but also with our client and community.
Yeah, I can imagine. This is something also we were trying to work towards, like creating this accessibility dashboard with a variety of different like data sources. One of them also being like the external audits, like you said, but also the automated tests, and also the ticketing in in Azure DevOps or Jira, for example. These are all data sources that we also would like to, we're looking to combine in some way, some kind of dashboard as well, which is, yeah, it's really nice to learn more about this, how you guys solved it. Oh, that's very interesting. You were also saying about the accessibility champions just now. So every team has an accessibility champion that's also meeting regularly and discussing maybe progress or problems that's been running into. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, so this was part of, I guess, the final part of our initiative. Like, we had a focus on shifting accessibility left. So we've done a couple of things for that. The accessibility, creating this accessibility champions group, right? Like, was one of those things, right? Like, so it's a group of people, of advocates of accessibility that they represent their team. And we have fortnightly sessions, like where we meet with this group, and we have a format, right? Like for the session, like where we start from discussing, of course, action items that we might have had from the previous meetings, and then we everybody can have the space to bring in something, right, that maybe they're working on in their team about accessibility, they want to get clarification. Like, so just yesterday we had one of those meetings. We have also one designer like in the group of accessibility champion that represent our design team, and they brought up like a specific topic around progress bar, right? Like we are now redesigning a little bit of a progress bar and taking into consideration accessibility, and it was an interesting conversation, right? Because there are few new requirements, especially in WCAG 2.2, like as well. Like we focus like on making sure that things are visible. So when you have this, I guess like you can call them like this progress bar where you have step 1, step 2, step 3. Like sometimes they tend to be just the steps that you've done, they are of a darker color, and then the step that you haven't done are of a lighter color. So you have maybe 3 steps to do. If you are at the first step, you have the first one just like of a very dark color, and the other one, they are like very light. And that can be an issue, like, for example, for people that, because there is not enough color contrast often, like with the things that are light, like they don't realize that actually there is an indication, like about the number of steps. So there was a very interesting conversation that went on, right? Like, and we often look also at what other companies are doing. Yesterday we end up looking at what Google with Material 3 has been doing, like for this specific problem, like, and they had an interesting like a way to solve it where they added a little dot at the end of the things that are not completed. So instead of being fully, of a light color, they just have a little dot at the end, so that also people that have some visual impairment and they cannot see very well contrast, they can realize that there is some more step coming. So yeah, just to give you an example of the things that we might discuss, right? Like into these meetings. And not just that, like after that, like we have also 15 minutes, like or so, like to go to this Jira board that I was talking to you about, the Accessibility Central Jira board, and talk about any updates of accessibility remediation that are ongoing. There might be that a team have picked up a specific accessibility remediation that regards their products, like and we are tracking in the central board, so they might give update, or maybe other people might have questions. But also things that are new. Sometimes, like, accessibility reports, they can come anytime, right? Like you can have somebody reporting it like, in the middle of the week, and then we just create this placeholder in the triage. We have a triage section, like, and if there is stuff in the triage column, like we take the time as a group to discuss these new bugs or like issues, right, that have been reported. Like sometimes, we just accept all the report, but sometimes like they're actually non-issue, right? Like, so there is also a little bit of triaging to do there, like to understand, is this an actual issue, like, or maybe something else, or something not related even to accessibility. So yeah, so that's what we do as a group.
Interesting. Very, very nice. Yeah, I think quite similar to also what we are doing at the bank, meeting with a lot of different people from a lot of different teams. Could also call them accessibility champions. Yeah. And this is, I think, a really nice and fun way also to collaborate with different teams on the same topic. And yeah, it's trying to solve the same problem as well. So it's really good. What I also found interesting to know is that are you is about the community that's also helping you, of course. So the community, so the Stack Overflow community, there are a lot of users of Stack Overflow reporting things on the website, but also I can imagine, like you said, reporting maybe accessibility vulnerabilities to you guys, and you guys seem to have integrated these reports by the community also really well into our remediation flow, so to say. Is that something? Yeah. How do you see this?
Yeah. So I think this goes beyond, I suppose, like accessibility per se. Like, so Stack Overflow having this large user base, like, um, we are lucky enough, right? Like that we have a bunch of very passionate people, like about the website. Like we have all our moderators, right? So Stack Overflow, um, still today heavily rely like on people, like also reviewing questions. I yeah, a lot of those people have these spaces that we call meta, which is, if you actually go to meta.stackoverflow.com, you'd see like it's essentially, it feels like another Stack Overflow, but in there, instead of talking about uh programming questions and stuff like that, right? Like we talk about the website itself, right? So we talk about stackoverflow.com. So there are all sorts of discussions there, communications also to our community, but also that's also the way that people can report bugs to us, right? So bugs of any kind, right? So that's why I say accessibility is part of that, like in the sense that they're just a specific type of bugs that people might report, right? Like, or concern that people might have, right? Like when they are browsing our website. And the way it works is that those websites are monitored by our community management team. So we have few people like that are in charge of making sure that um, in general, like we see when something maybe is off. Like we also have some automation for that, like because Stack Overflow has tags, like so if somebody tags like a specific issue in Meta with accessibility, we will get in our internal accessibility Slack channel or something like that, like a notification saying, "Oh, okay, there's a new accessibility, question post, right, that you might want to check out." And that's how we essentially like get the input from the community when there is something around accessibility that doesn't work back into our central repository of issues, right? There is always something that we can do to improve, right? But this process for now works, right? And that have proven itself beneficial, right? Like when we fix something around accessibility that community members like have requested, we generally also get a lot of positive feedback. So it's also it's also rewarding, right? Like to
Yeah, I
look
can
at those bugs.
imagine. I can imagine. All of these things combined, I think you guys are on a very high maturity level in terms of accessibility. You're taking it really serious. I think the project and the monitoring, but also the color contrast changes, all combined make it so. Yeah, to me it sounds like a really refined process, and it's very interesting to get to know a little bit more about it from you directly. I'm going to thank you for that. Thanks for being on the show, being on the first among the first of the podcast. Um, just to know, if you would like to share that with listeners, where can people find you online if they would like to follow you?
Yeah. So I'm not a super social media guy, but you can certainly. I have a website, jamin.com. So my name.com. And my email is at hello@jamin.com. Probably that's the best way that you can reach out to me. I'm also on X, but I'm not, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn, of course, but I'm not super active on those platforms. Try to limit a little bit like my social media consumption. I like to remain sane. To an extent.
I can imagine in this changing world. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine you can get sucked into it really quickly as well. Yeah. Now I'm going to thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show. And to the listeners, if you like what we do, please consider subscribing or liking or rating, following us, following the podcast. And if you have a comment, please don't hesitate to let us know any feedback you might have, good or bad. We will read them all and try to improve, of course. Thank you so much, Giamir, and I hope to get you on another time as well, because I think we can go on for some hours after this as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. All right. See you later, man.